BG Squad, on this week's Open and Honest, we wanted to talk about the topic of identity and how that can play into how we operate in our everyday lives. In fact, we recently spoke to one young woman who went viral on TikTok speaking about this exact topic.
I just got done crying because I had a fight with one of my family members. I just want to come on here and say, black men and white women, please stop fetishizing each other and having children.
Her name is Dominique Clark, and she uses her TikTok page to talk about her reality of being biracial. But she also discusses topics like fetishization and how light-skin proximity to whiteness can come with its privileges. Folks, it's time to get open and honest.
You guys bring children to this world with no intention of actually supporting them how they need to be supported. And a lot of the times, the random ass white girl that you choose to knock up is racist, and so is her family. You're bringing a black child into this world with one parent that cannot relate to them, doesn't know what it's like to be them. They're a white person, not even a person of color. And when these relationships are based on fetishes, obviously that white person has no intention of learning about black identity or doing anything to be anti-racist or support their children.
So let's talk about that TikTok video because it did get hundreds of thousands of views. So I would love to know what led you to want to make the video? What was going through your mind at the time?
So right before that video, I had actually just gotten into a fight with one of my white family members. I was feeling very emotionally distraught. And as soon as I was able to collect myself, I came online and I just started filming. I think when we're speaking about these issues, it's very important to show some emotional vulnerability sometimes. I was actually very careful with my choice of words because a lot of people may see my content and think that I'm just against interracial relationships, but that's absolutely not the case. I'm against fetishization.
You know, when you talked about fetishizing each other, you brought up the fact that there were people who kind of confused real love with fetishization. Explain to us the difference.
Fetishization starts with racial preference. The biggest distinguishing factor is people that state that they only date this type of person. That to me will always be a fetish. If you're a black man and you tell me you only date black girls, that's a fetish. If you're a white woman and you tell me you only date black guys, that's a fetish automatically to me.
That moment of raw emotion that we witnessed on TikTok.
It's so frustrating to have to deal with constant racial gaslighting and erasure of my identity.
Is that derived or did that stem from the difficulty of having to pick a side sometimes, being biracial?
You know, a lot of people have this kind of, I feel like I don't fit into either category. I do feel like I fit in with the black community. And that's partially because of the way that like I'm perceived. I'm perceived as a black person still, at least part black. A lot of mixed people are white passing or racially ambiguous. So my experience navigating this world, everybody that sees me knows that I'm at least part black. But where that like dissonance comes from is a lot of racial gaslighting goes along, you know, that wasn't racist. You just caused racist situations to happen to yourself because you make everything about black and white, or, you know, why are you trying to yell at me about race when I didn't own slaves? Like stuff like that from my family members is said to me. So that, you know, that's still your family. So that creates a mental roadblock of like questioning everything about yourself. Like, is my activism even the right thing that I should be doing?
Can I ask you a personal question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any resentment to either side of your family based off of how they've treated you or viewed you as a mixed race person?
Yes. To be honest, yes. And that's a big thing. What I get from them is that they want me, but they don't want my blackness to be a part of that. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to anybody to do that.
Do you think the experience is different if you're a mixed race female compared to a mixed race male?
I've actually thought a lot about this. And I'm not quite sure because I know that's something that was very much missing in my life was just having a black mother in general.
Or what do you believe you were missing not having a Black mother?
So my father has a sister, and she passed away when I was in middle school. She played the role of my Black mother. One of the biggest things for me is how successful and hardworking she was, and the amount of work that you have to do to be successful as a Black person in this country is very different than the amount of work you have to do as a white person.
But do you ever find, and tell me if you're comfortable answering this question, being biracial and having that proximity to whiteness does come with some privileges.
Absolutely.
And for some people who may not have that proximity, it can be hard to empathize when you're comparing this different struggles that people of color, all people of color go through, but in particular, people with darker shades of skin tone.
Yeah.
Does that ever run across your mind?
Yeah. And see, one of the main focuses of my page too is that a lot of these issues, a lot of Black issues, but a lot of mixed people can be colorists, can have internalized racism, can just be anti-Black in general, and I see that often. So as a part of my platform, I make sure that I address all of these things.
As the lighter skinned girls to stop discrediting the experiences of darker skinned girls.
In her video, she's speaking about colorism and how light skinned women often discredit the experiences of darker skinned women, and she's absolutely correct. Once I learned what colorism was when I was younger, I started paying attention more. Being light skinned is not a compliment. It does not make you pretty. Check yourself, please.
We love to leave on a positive note on this show. So is there anything you would like to say to any biracial person who may be dealing with some self issues or family issues relating to their, the different sides of their families? What would you tell them?
I would just tell them that you're not alone and that there are tons and tons of people going through the same thing as you. When I was younger, no one was talking about this. And being biracial is still a fairly new thing, honestly. It's becoming more popularized. So sometimes when people aren't talking about these issues and you don't know any other people that are biracial, you feel very much invalidated and like what you're going through doesn't matter, and it's just, something absurd. But your feelings are valid, what you're going through is valid, and there are people that are going to support you and uplift you in your voice.
Dom, thank you so much for taking this time to speak with us. We really appreciate you being open and honest. Wow, wasn't that an interesting conversation? Dominique was great, but I would really love to know, how did that make you feel? Let us know in the comment section, because this is an ongoing conversation we're going to have. In fact, we spoke with a few other people about this exact topic, and we have those extended interviews. You can find them on our YouTube page. And listen, if you have a story relating to this that you want to share, send it to us. news@brandongonashow.com.